latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and I can't get over this Joe and Eileen Bailey business with Pagliacci Schumer. I mean, it is just dumbfounding. I got to get Salena Zito to weigh in on this, just to reset the table. I won't go through the entire John Oliver piece on it again, but Chuck Schumer talking about the Baileys, Joe and Eileen Bailey's views on issues, talking about their votes. I mean, you know, like on Ezra Klein's podcast, like to the New York Times. Listen to the way he talks about them.
The Baileys are not anti-immigration, but they are anti-illegal immigration. They really dislike the Enron executives who stole money, but they hate the people who burn the flag even more. They are pro-choice. They understand that a fundamental decision like that should be made by the individual, but they're glad their church isn't.
Really? Are you sure about that?
Do they know Corn Pop or T-Bone or any of Obama's ex-girlfriends by chance? Joe and Eileen Bailey's votes the last several cycles.
He explained how the Baileys had voted in the past few presidential elections.
They voted for Clinton and then they voted for Bush. They're not a member of one party or another. They're independent.
Did they vote for Donald Trump?
Both of them did in 2016. Joe Bailey still did in 2020 with misgivings, but she didn't.
Yeah. The Baileys voted for Trump. And just this March, a reporter actually got an update on their voting history.
You said the Baileys voted for Trump in 2016. They split Trump-Biden in 2020. I'm wondering who they voted for in 2024.
Probably voted for Trump. Probably voted for Trump. But if you ask them why, I think they'd say, above all, crime.
Okay, so to recap, of the 6 votes the Baileys had across the last 3 presidential elections, 5 went to Donald Trump.
And that's the couple that has guided Chuck Schumer's political life. Salena Zito is a national political reporter. You can always check out her latest writings at selenazito.com. She has a new book out, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Of course it is. Congratulations. That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
So, I mean, if you want to disclose any imaginary friends you have before we continue the conversation, but I mean, I know we were talking before you joined us, the fantastical stories that Joe Biden would tell that had no basis in reality, and you know, his T-Bone anecdote or his Corn Pop anecdote, Cory Booker's T-Bone anecdote, composites of the universe of ex-girlfriends that Obama had. These things that are always, weird, but this is like the details here, the way that he talks about this fictional couple. I mean, this is really, really loony.
Yeah, it's not good, right?
it's not good.
Really a not good look. And more importantly, as you raise your children to, grow up to make, good decisions and I don't know, not be liars, you certainly can't look at Chuck Schumer and hold him, or any of the other people that you mentioned, and hold them up as examples of this is what you want to grow up to be, right? And so, for all of the hysteria that they have over Trump, one of the things he's been the most blunt about is being honest about his interactions with people, right? And part of the joke with Trump is that he says things with a wink, and then it has always been a swipe about politicians constantly lying, and Schumer then goes and serves them up exactly what Trump has been pointing out for over a decade.
Well, I mean, like I know that the stories back in the day when Trump, would like act as his own press agent and use a nom de plume and things like that.
Right.
But I mean, this is even the T-bone corn pop stuff. This is so next level. I mean, just this entire life that he has created, this narrative life that he's created around this couple that he says guides that. I mean, it's not like he's saying, like that this is a middle American couple, or this is sort of a profile of an independent voter, or this is a couple I actually know, but I just changed the names to, protect their identities. And so this is somebody I lean on that doesn't always agree with me, but it gives me a sense of the independent voter's mindset. None of that. He just talks about them like they are like his next door neighbors and good friends. And it is the stuff of M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about them with a familiarity that is, when you find out that they don't exist, it's deeply disturbing.
Yes. I mean,
it's profoundly disturbing. If your child did this in school, they would be going to see the psych ward.
Yeah.
Because it is given with such detail, like what the guy does, what she does, what their jobs are, where they go to church. I mean, that is, again, next level stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a pre-adolescent, you say it's a phase they're going through, but it's hard to say that with a 75-year-old Senate minority leader,
When he's been doing it for decades.
Yes, all right.
It's like not like a one-off, right? And go home like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I am never doing that again.
Oh.
No, he has like no sense of remorse or regret, right? He just keeps repeating the lie. And that is an incredibly dangerous thing. Honestly, I admire the fact that he was able to keep the lie together so well. And really, that is quite an imagination to be able to not only create these fictional people, but also not, forget that he was an insurance salesman.
Yeah, insurance adjuster. Insurance
adjuster.
Yeah.
Do we know how he found, how it was found out they don't exist? I missed that part.
I don't know. I mean, I had no. It's not like I live and die with every pronouncement from Chuck Schumer. So yeah, as you said, and as John Oliver's segment provided the evidence. He's been talking about this couple for years, but he's been around for so long, and he says the same things. I don't know. It just evaded me. So I don't know. I just really came upon the existence of these fictional people in Chuck Schumer's life because of the piece that John Oliver just did. So and it's wild. But I mean, talk about fodder, though, for political. He's at a weak point right now in terms of his position, not in the Senate, much as a Senate minority leader. And talk about fodder for, AOC or somebody that aspires for Chuck Schumer's seat.
Well, that's where I suspect the truth came out from, AOC.
Yeah.
Or someone trying to take him down, and someone was probably a Democrat.
Yeah. Of course, the legacy media for these many years never thought to, kick the tires on the Joe and Eileen Bailey that you're always talking about. Who are these people? Can we talk to them?
I mean, after the ninth reference, you would think someone would find them.
Right. I wanted to get your reaction to something that was said a couple of weeks ago. Just an incredible statement, particularly in light of your new book, Butler, about the, of course, near assassination attempt. This was Scott MacFarlane, who is a CBS reporter in scare quotes. He was on Chuck Todd's podcast, and this is what he had to say about his experience covering Butler on that fateful day.
For those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up and dismissed, they were going to come kill us.
I know.
No,
I know.
No, this is such a lie. And I'm going on Chuck Todd tomorrow, and I will make sure that I say that out loud.
Good.
Because this is not what happened. And if people read my book, which I hope they do, because it's more than just about that day, it's about what's happening in this country. But, you know, after the shooting, you know, if people don't know, I was a few feet away from the president. The shots went right over my head. They went nowhere near the pressurizer, by the way. About an hour later, when they finally let me and my daughter out, she's a photojournalist, and we go back to where our car is, there are 50,000 people there. That means there were at least 15 to 20,000 cars there. Well, they hadn't moved for an hour. There's no one's blowing their horn, no one's screaming. In fact, people were singing, they were praying. They were helping each other out. People had coolers in the back of their vehicles. They were giving each other water if other people didn't have it. And I remember thinking, oh, my goodness, these are the people they call deplorable, extremists. And this is, I mean, I still get chills when I talk about that moment of coming over that hill where the parking lot was. And for him to say that is despicable.
Well, it is. Also, talk about navel gazing. I mean, the worst thing about what happened in Butler on that day was what happened to me. I mean, right. I mean, Corey Campiatore, right, exactly. Corey Campiatore was murdered, and the worst thing that happened was your perception that there were some people in the crowd that were were coming for journalists, whatever that means, and you're describing how wrong-headed that was. And by the way, I mean, just a point of order, since you're going on Chuck Todd's podcast tomorrow, you heard Chuck Todd at the end agree with that assessment from McFarland that they were coming for the press.
Yeah, no, they weren't coming for the press. And I talked to people that had turned to the camera and had been angry. They weren't angry at the press. They were angry that this happened. Yeah. And they wanted people to know, in the same spirit that the president said, fight, 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 that we will not back down. That we will not let something bad happen to our country, and we will stand up to it. And for him to misinterpret it to be all about him is just shows how really whacked my profession is.
Well, right, and then those same people, Scott McFarland, Chuck Todd, will get on their high horse and decry characterizations of the D.C. press corps as the enemy of the people. Yet you unfairly demonize people, and then you are perplexed that they not only don't trust you, but they rebuke you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just said it all. It's where the divide between my profession, which is largely in D.C. and New York. I'm not. I'm in a small county in western Pennsylvania, is largely driven by the attitudes of the press who do not understand the people in the middle of the country that actually decide elections. No one in New York or D.C. has decided an election in over 150 years. D.C. never. New York, like maybe during McKinley and Roosevelt. But that's about the last time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that there is not a curiosity and an empathy towards the people and trying to understand who they are and what is important to them is just the underscore of all the divide in this country. It comes out from that.
And how do you think, that those middle American families that put Trump in the White House, helping Trump to break through the blue wall, how do you think they're receiving some of the sort of typical dynamics on some new issues, gerrymandering, violence. This isn't a new issue, but but Trump's intervention in D.C. is dealing with violence and big city disintegration, and Trump intervening where he can while making overtures to intervene where it's a little bit more complicated. How do people, do you think, see that when he's taking those particular action steps and they're just decrying everything he does as authoritarian and a threat to our democracy?
Well, I mean, that's the viewpoint of, again, the D.C. press. But you talk to people in the middle of the country, their viewpoint of going into cities, including, by the way, me in my own city of Pittsburgh, which is overrun with homelessness and vagrancy, and like many other cities, have these packs of children that go out and terrorize people, either stealing things or running through the city. It is while crime statistics may be down since COVID, that I think that number is often skewed because of the reporting system that now happens. But also I won't go into D.C. I've been asked to do a couple of book events, and I'm like, no, I'm going to pass. Because I driving into the city by myself, the last time I drove into Philadelphia, I was surrounded by hundreds of motorcycles or some kind of bikes, and they just drove around and around and around my car at a intersection. So, I'm just incredibly uncomfortable, and I'm not exactly a fearful person. There is a belief that our cities are unsafe, and that's not created in a vacuum. That's created in the lawlessness that has been allowed to happen since the summer of love in 2020, and we have elected mayors that have been highly critical and non-supportive of their own police forces. So I think that Trump is, you want families to come from Peoria and go to Washington, D.C. You want them to experience our beautiful capital and all the institutions that have surrounded it. But they don't want to because there's a sense of unsafety. And so it's not the wrong thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's what people want.
Salena Zito is a national political reporter. You can always get her writings at selenazito.com. Her last bestseller was The Great Revolt. You should pick that up, too. Her new book, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Salena, thanks so much, as always, and can't wait to see how that Chuck Todd podcast goes. I'm going to be looking for that.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Salena. She joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star.